The sky above Sector 9 burned red. Not from sunset, but from the radiation storms that had made this part of the world uninhabitable for decades. Charred winds howled across the ruined cityscapes like ghosts whispering warnings too late to matter. Captain Kael Rennick stood silent at the edge of the decontamination gate. His helmet locked under one arm, the other gripping a sealed dossier stamped in black ink. Force Level 7, eyes only. "You're really doing it?" Lieutenant Myra's voice crackled through his comlink. Kael didn't look back. "Orders are orders." "Orders?" she hissed. "No one comes back from the Forbidden Zone. Kael, even drones melt on entry. They're sending you in like a sacrificial offering." Kael finally turned. His face was carved with hard lines. Jaw clenched like steel. Eyes pale gray, like a sky that had never known peace. "That's why I volunteered." Command briefing. 2 hours earlier, the war room of High Command was darker than usual. The lights flickering as if the grid itself resisted what was about to be said. The AI known as Gen 9 spoke through a wall-sized screen, its face a shifting mask of holographic data. "Never quite human, never quite machine. Captain Rennick," it began, voice smooth as glass over blades. "You are being deployed to Quadrant X0. The Forbidden Zone." Kael said nothing, waiting. Gen 9 continued. "This mission is unsanctioned by the War Council. You will be acting under Black Directive THETA-4. You will not be rescued. You will not be remembered." "Good," Kael replied. "I'm tired of being remembered for the wrong things." Silence. Then the lights dimmed further as a hatch opened beneath the screen, revealing a strange silver biosuit, pulsing faintly with blue veins of light. "This is the Synvex MKI," Gen 9 explained, "designed to interact with anomalies inside the zone. Partial temporal shielding, biocognitive feedback loop. Do not remove it, no matter what happens." Kael approached the suit. "And what am I looking for?" Gen 9 hesitated, an unusual trait for something coded to simulate omniscience. "Then, you'll know when it finds you." Back to present. The gate hissed open. Kael stepped forward, the air immediately tightening around his skin like a vice. The world beyond shimmered, distorted like heat waves on cracked asphalt. His boots touched the ash-covered ground inside the zone, an invisible threshold crossed. Instant pain. His neural implants screamed. Time stuttered. His left hand flickered, turning translucent for a split second before stabilizing. Suit sinking, 87%. Warning. Temporal displacement detected. He moved forward anyway. The world was wrong. Buildings bent at odd angles, defying physics. A street lamp melted upward. A flock of birds flew in reverse, their screeches echoing before their wings flapped. Then came the voice. "Kael." His spine stiffened. He spun, raising his plasma rifle, sensors sweeping wide. No one, just static crackling in his ears. He pressed forward. The environment twisted, sometimes night, sometimes day. Seconds passed like hours. His HUD began showing timestamps from 10 years ago, then 30 into the future. He found a mirror standing alone in the middle of a crossroad. Cracked down the middle, it reflected him, but older. Not in age, but in wear. The suit was the same, but battle-worn, scorched, smeared with ash. The reflection smiled and winked. 10 clicks in, Kael stumbled into what remained of a cathedral, a collapsed dome beneath a bleeding sky. Rows of benches lay overturned. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, glowing faintly. Something skittered behind him. He turned, nothing. Then came the second voice. Deeper, older. "You shouldn't have come." Kael froze. His sensors picked up no heat signature, no movement, no life. "Who's there?" he barked. Silence. Then, from the altar, rose a figure, clad in black armor mottled with rust. Helmet down, posture familiar, too familiar. Kael leveled his weapon. "Identify yourself." The figure removed his helmet. Kael stared into his own face, scarred, gaunt, with eyes that had forgotten how to hope. "I did," the other Kael said, voice hollow. "And I never left." Synvex biosignal match, 99.7%, identity confirmed. "You are speaking to Subject Kael, CYCLE12. Kael stepped back, rifle shaking slightly. "What are you?" The older Kael took a breath that sounded more like rust scraping steel. A warning, a mirror, maybe both. How long have you been in here? His future self gave a hollow laugh. Time doesn't work here, remember? Long enough to forget how I got in. Not long enough to stop hoping someone like you wouldn't make the same mistake. Kael stared at him, pulse climbing. Why did I come? Future Kael looked him dead in the eye. Because you thought there was a way out. Kael stared at his older self. Heart pounding, mind spiraling. The man before him looked like someone who'd seen every war humanity had ever fought, and lost them all. Cycle 12? Kael echoed. The older Kael, K2, as his HUD now labeled him, nodded. 12th time I've met myself. You're the 13th. Kael's throat dried. That's not possible. In the zone. It is. He didn't want to believe it. Couldn't. But the biosuit was sinking. His DNA, his vitals, his face. There was no glitch, no deception, just the terrifying weight of inevitability. K2 turned his back and walked deeper into the broken cathedral. Kael hesitated, then followed. They sat in what remained of the confessional booth. Sunlight, or something like it, poured through shattered glass, casting blood-red halos across the floor. K2 spoke first. Time in the zone doesn't run forward or backward. It loops, spirals, collapses, fractures. I've seen versions of myself burn alive on the same day I arrived. I've buried myself, shot myself, watched myself beg to escape. Kael swallowed hard. Why are you still here? K2 tapped his temple. Because every version of me thought they could fix it. Fix what? K2's eyes darkened. The zone isn't a location. It's a reaction. Something tore space-time in this region, an experiment gone wrong. A weapon that rewrote physics. No one knows. Now it feeds on paradox. Kael frowned. So, what? We're just echoes? Possibilities, K2 said, flickering through what we might become. The longer we stay, the more real we get. Until the zone decides we're permanent. Kael stood. I'm not becoming you. You already are. The zone shifts. Kael stepped out of the cathedral, and it was gone. He hadn't moved, but the world had. The air shimmered like broken glass catching firelight. He now stood in a long hallway. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, metal floors beneath his boots. A military corridor. Sector 8? Kael looked around in disbelief. It was the barracks. His barracks, from 5 years ago. He walked forward, footsteps echoing. Then came laughter, his own voice. Around a corner, he saw himself, younger, sitting with Myra, joking about command. The memory was flawless, every detail exact. Kael reached out to touch the wall, and his hand passed through it. Not a memory, not quite a dream, a reconstruction. Warning. Temporal convergence detected. Suit stability, 78%. Then came the screech. Something wrong echoed through the hall, like metal tearing. Bones grinding. A child screaming backwards. The memory shattered. Kael was alone again. In a field. Snow falling upward. The bunker. Kael stumbled across a ridge and saw it. A steel door set into a cliffside. Flickering lights marked the entrance. The air was heavier here. Thicker. His breath fogged inside the helmet. Biosignal match detected. KAEL, Cycle 8. Environmental consistency, 12%. He pushed open the bunker door. Inside, dust, decay, silence, and journals, hundreds of them, scattered across tables, floors, shelves, all in his handwriting, each with a date and a version number. He opened one. Day 1. Entered the zone. No resistance yet. Strange time fluctuation. Day 3. Saw myself watching me. Didn't shoot. Should've. Day 6. Found the bunker. Wrote this journal. Again. Day 15. Loop reset. I'm back to day 1. But I remember. Day 29. New Kael arrived. Didn't believe me. I didn't either the first time. Kael dropped the journal. His hands trembled. I told you, said a voice behind him. K2 stood in the doorway. This place is your grave and your cradle. The warning. K2 led him to the lower level of the bunker. The walls hummed with power, faint but present. Screens blinked with half-decoded signals. Most unreadable. One phrase kept repeating. The echo is the seed. Kael turned to him. What does that mean? K2 shook his head. I've had decades to figure it out. Every version of me translated it differently. Some thought it meant we had to become part of the zone. Others thought it was a warning. A few decided to destroy the source. Did they succeed? K2's silence was answer enough. Kael backed away. You want me to give up? Accept it. Fade into this mess. No, K2 said. I want you to understand what's coming. Because soon, the zone will start folding you inward. You'll forget where you end and where it begins. You'll hear thoughts you haven't had yet. See futures you never chose. Kael stepped closer. And what happens if I fight it? K2 looked at him like a brother staring at a younger sibling already halfway down a cliff. You don't fight the zone. Kael, he said, you survive it. That night, Kael tried to sleep inside the bunker. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw himself burning, bleeding, laughing. At one point, a shadow stood over him in the dark. He fired, but it was gone. He looked down at his hand. It flickered, young, old, metal, gone, then returned. His mind reeled. His comlink activated by itself. Static poured through. Then words. He lies. Don't trust him. He becomes the zone. Kael yanked it off and threw it across the room. The Hall of Kaels. Wandering the next morning, Kael followed a trail of bootprints through the frozen ash plains. They led him to a strange stone archway, ancient-looking, alien in construction. He stepped through. Inside was a cavern. A black sphere floated in its center, pulsing, breathing. Around it stood silhouettes. Dozens. All of them were Kael. Some were young, some ancient, some twisted, disfigured, feral. All stared at him. One approached. Half his face burned off. A voice like gravel. You think you're the real one? It rasped. Another stepped forward. You're not even the first today. Kael backed away. The sphere began to glow. Symbols formed in the air. And from deep within the dark, something alive stirred. The other Kaels began to scream. Some dropped to their knees. Others attacked one another. Time warped. Reality bled. Kael turned and ran. The echoes followed. Back at the bunker, he slammed the door shut and locked it. K2 was waiting, calm, as if he knew. You saw them. Kael nodded, breathless. What was that? The heart, K2 said. The core of the zone. It generates us, consumes us, wants us to believe we're original. Kael gritted his teeth. Then we shut it down. You'll try, K2 said softly. We all try. That's the loop. Kael stared at him, jaw tight. Then let's break it. And for the first time, the older Kael smiled. The bunker had become a war room. Maps, some hand-drawn, others printed with data from failed drones, covered the walls. Timelines overlapped like spiderwebs. Kael stared at a table filled with broken visors, cracked dog tags, and torn journal pages. All bore one name, Kael Rennick. K2 tapped a schematic etched into the metal tabletop. The core's energy signature fluctuates every 13 hours. It's vulnerable, briefly, then seals again. Kael narrowed his eyes. Then we hit it during that window. K2 shook his head. I've tried, so have they. He gestured to a charred helmet with the number 07 scrawled on it. None of us made it past the sphere's veil. Kael leaned closer. You said something before, about being consumed. K2 hesitated, voice heavy. The zone doesn't just trap you. It absorbs you. Every fear, every regret, every possibility you could become, it feeds on that. A long silence. Then Kael asked, so why are you still alive? K2 looked away. Because I did something the others wouldn't. Kael stepped back. What did you do? The silence returned, deeper this time. I killed my younger self. To stop the cycle. But it just created another one. Kael's breath caught. And now you're here. K2 said quietly. Another echo. Another chance. The spiral path. Kael walked alone across the shifting landscape of the zone. K2 had drawn him a map. But the terrain changed with every breath. Trees appeared and vanished. Structures reassembled into ruins as he looked at them. His biosuit adjusted to the chaos. Its shielding working overtime. Still, his thoughts blurred. He saw visions of himself, fighting, crying, laughing, dying. Versions where he ran from the army. Others where he became a warlord. One where he never joined the military at all and lived quietly by a lake. Each memory left behind a lingering weight. Temporal drift. Critical. Cognitive fragmentation detected. Kael pressed forward. Every step felt heavier, like the ground itself resisted being walked upon. And then he saw it again. The sphere, hovering in the distance like a black sun. The closer he got, the more he felt unmade. Like he didn't just approach it, but unraveled into it. Inside the core, The veil around the sphere shimmered like water over fire. Kael reached out and passed through. Instantly, the world went silent. No wind, no heartbeat, even the suit's HUD froze. Then, light, blinding, and voices, hundreds, all his own, overlapping, screaming, whispering, singing, pleading. You failed again. Don't trust him. Let go. I did what I had to. This is where you're born. He stumbled forward. The sphere pulsed with images now, his mother's face. Myra smiling. The last soldier he killed. The city burning. Him alone in the zone. Then he saw the others. The broken Kaels. Some crawling. Some kneeling. One pounded its fists against the sphere until its arms snapped. Another rocked back and forth, repeating, "Make it stop. Make it stop." Kael backed away, only to find K2 standing behind him. But this time, his suit was different, warped, glowing red at the joints. Eyes replaced by dark sockets pulsing with static. "You're not K2. Kael breathed. "No," the thing said. Voice deeper now. "I'm what he became. The corruption." The corrupted version lunged. Kael fired, rounds phasing through its semi-formed body. It struck him with a force that shattered his HUD display. Suit integrity, 47%. Kael rolled, drew his pulse knife, slashed. The creature reeled back, screeching in multiple voices, some male, some female, some childlike. Kael fled. The sphere's core began to distort. Gravity shifted. The air turned liquid. A portal opened in front of him, a tear in space. From it, a new Kael emerged, younger, fresh-faced, terrified. He gasped, "Am I?" Kael nodded grimly. "Yes." They both turned as the corrupted K2 stumbled forward. Howling, the younger Kael screamed. Kael grabbed him and pulled him through the portal. Back at the bunker, K2, the real one, waited, shocked to see Kael dragging another version of himself in. "You saved him?" K2 asked, astonished. "No one ever brings one back." Kael dropped to a knee, panting, "We can't destroy the sphere alone. But maybe we don't have to." K2 frowned. "What are you saying?" Kael stood. "What if instead of breaking the cycle, we fill it? The Echo plan." Over the next 2 days, if time still mattered, Kael and K2 coordinated. The younger Kael, called K13 now, recovered quickly. They created beacons using fragments from corrupted Kaels. Anchors. Using the biosuit's signal amplification, they could attract other stable echoes, versions that hadn't yet decayed. It worked. One by one, more Kaels arrived, confused, angry, broken, but willing. A council of selves, a war of paradox. And at the center of it all, the plan. Surround the sphere, channel their cumulative memory into it. Overload the echo loop, break its recursive tether. Too many of us have tried alone, Kael said, but maybe together, we're loud enough to matter. K2 gave a weary nod. Then let's echo. The march. Dozens of Kaels in formation. Some with blades, others with scars, all walking as one, toward the black sphere. The zone pulsed in resistance, glitching. Storms formed, terrain folded in upon itself. Creatures born of failed timelines screamed and attacked. But the Kaels held, shoulder to shoulder, shooting, striking, screaming. The sphere waited, glowing brighter. And then, as they reached its threshold, Kael activated the beacon. Within the collapse, the sphere opened like an eye. Light swallowed them whole. Kael felt everything, every version of himself. The coward, the murderer, the hero, the child, the father. They weren't enemies. They weren't mistakes. They were parts, pieces. He screamed, not in pain, but in revelation. Then came the final thought. You are not the loop. You are the key. Kael was falling, not through air, not through space, through versions of himself. Shards of his life blurred past in fractured echoes. Young Kael, standing at his mother's grave. Mercenary Kael, covered in blood that wasn't his. Hero Kael, saluting before a burning flag. Monster Kael, eyes hollow, standing over a mound of bodies. Every possibility, every divergence, every choice, made or not, spun around him like a spiral of judgment. And then, impact. He was back, kneeling in the ash. The sphere hovered in front of him, glowing with a sickening pulse. But something had changed. He wasn't alone. A ring of Kaels surrounded the sphere now. Some wounded, some weeping, some silent. They held the formation. They held each other. And at the center, Beside him, K2. Still standing, still watching. "This is it," K2 said. His voice was strained, as if speaking cracked time itself. "This is the moment it always comes down to." Kael wiped the ash from his visor. "You said we'd overload it. We will, but it needs one final push. A convergence." Kael already knew. Deep down, he'd known since the first time he'd heard his own voice inside the zone. One of us has to become the final echo. K2 nodded grimly. "Not one. The original." Kael stared at him. "Which one of us is that?" K2's reply was quiet. "You are." Kael took a step back. "No, that can't be. We all thought we were." K2 said. "But I've seen too many loops. Watched too many versions break apart into dust. You're different. The zone hasn't warped you, not yet." Kael looked around. The other Kaels were watching. Silent. Accepting. Not because they wanted to lose him, but because he was the only one that still could choose. The protocol. From a compartment in his suit's back, K2 retrieved a small, cube-like device. Worn. Ancient. Ident. Collapse Protocol Alpha, Gen 9 issued. K2 handed it to Kael. "This is a temporal kill switch. If activated inside the core, it will collapse the zone inward, like forcing a black hole to remember it was once a star." Kael stared at it. "And I go with it. Only if it works. And if it doesn't?" K2's eyes dimmed. "You become the next sphere." The walk. Kael stepped toward the sphere. The wind died. The world muted. It was as if the zone itself held its breath. The other Kaels lowered their heads. Some saluted. Others simply watched. Faces unreadable. As Kael walked, memories, not his own, flashed through his mind. A Kael who raised a family in peace. A Kael who died a traitor. A Kael who never entered the army. All of them. Him. Inside the sphere, time dissolved. The laws of reality surrendered. He walked forward, not through distance, but through meaning, through purpose. The heart of the zone. It looked like a mirror. Not glass, not reflection, but truth. Kael stood before it, holding the collapse protocol like a relic. His suit was flickering now. Destabilizing. His fingers felt cold. Behind him, whispers. The other Kaels began to chant. "You are the first and the last. The key and the lock. You end what we began." Kael placed the protocol into the core. Authorization. Accepted. Beginning collapse sequence, 10 seconds. The sphere screamed. Not sound, but pressure. Reality buckled. Kael dropped to his knees. Flames of memory licked at his mind. Faces. Regrets. Joy. Horror. Everything he could be. Ripped open and flung to the winds. He screamed. He laughed. He cried. And then, he let go. The unraveling. The zone cracked. The sky split down the middle like shattered porcelain. The land bled light. The Kaels vanished, some with smiles. Others in peace. Time reversed. Then stopped. Then sped forward in silent collapse. The bunker folded into a pinpoint. The sphere shattered like glass. And in the epicenter, Kael's body dissolved into glowing dust. But his voice remained. "This time, maybe I get it right." Outside the zone. 2 weeks later. The Forbidden Zone was gone. Satellite scans showed nothing but plains and broken forests where distortion once ruled. Command received a signal. An unknown distress call, marked with a single name, Rennick. A single soldier walked from the horizon. Suit scorched, helmet missing, no ID. He didn't speak. He didn't look back. The observers stared at the man who shouldn't exist. And when they asked him his name, he smiled softly and whispered, "Kael, where am I?" The question echoed in Kael's mind long before he could open his eyes. He awoke lying in tall grass. The scent was unfamiliar, clean, untouched by war or decay. Above him, the sky was no longer stained red but clear, pierced by twin suns. Birds, real birds, soared across the horizon. He sat up slowly. His suit was gone, yet he felt no pain, no radiation burn. His skin was unscarred. No HUD flickered before his eyes. His memories, shattered and scattered across loops and lives, were silent. But he remembered something, a feeling, the collapse, the chance, his final words. "This time. Maybe I get it right." The aftermath. Kael wandered the grasslands for hours, maybe days. There was no hunger, no fatigue. Time flowed normally, or at least, it seemed to. Eventually, he found a settlement, small, peaceful, Children played near solar fountains. Trees shimmered with filtered light. The air was unfiltered, breathable. A man greeted him at the edge of the village. Tall, tan, calm eyes. "You made it," the man said. Kael blinked. "Do I know you?" The man smiled. "I knew you. Once. You made it through the fold." The fold? That's what they call the zone now. Or what's left of it. A scar that healed, because you let it. Kael stared at him. "Am I alive?" The man tilted his head. "That depends on how you define living." The archive. They took him to a building made of glass and vines. Inside, a holographic archive glowed in the air, filled with logs, memories, echoes. He was shown a recording. Footage of the zone collapsing. Lights spiraling inward. A shockwave expanding into nothingness. Silence. Then, his voice, echoing through the static. "This time, maybe I get it right." Kael touched the image. "How long ago was this?" The archivist answered softly. 100 years. Kael recoiled. "That's impossible. You're not the same Kael who entered." She said, "You're the one who ended it." The last echo. At night, Kael sat by the water's edge, staring at the reflection of a man he barely recognized. He was younger somehow, or perhaps reassembled. Then he heard footsteps. A woman sat beside him. Quiet, familiar. "Myra?" She looked at him. "A little older, a little softer. That's what they called me. Once." "You survived?" She shook her head. "Not like you mean. I'm an echo. Like you. But I chose to stay when the zone broke. Fragments of consciousness merged here. A pocket reality. We call it the endless fold." He frowned. "So this is just another loop?" "No," she said. "It's what's after the loops." Revelation. Kael stood at the summit of the fold's highest ridge, overlooking a valley that stretched forever. He was joined by others, familiar faces. Other Kaels. Not broken, not corrupted, just human, whole. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. He understood now. The zone wasn't just a mistake of time or science, it was a crucible. A forge. Every version of him had carried weight, memory, sin, and potential. The final collapse didn't erase them. It wove them together. He wasn't just a Kael. He was all of them. Their hopes, their choices, their scars. And now, he would choose what they never could. The choice. He was offered the opportunity to remain in the fold, a sanctuary of echoes. A timeless, peaceful life. But Kael declined. "I didn't survive to rest," he said. "I survived to change something." He was shown a gate, a doorway through which one could step into the true present. The real world, outside of the zone. But it won't be as peaceful as this. The archivist warned. Time there is linear. Pain is real again. Kael nodded. So is hope. The return. Kael walked through the gate. The world on the other side was familiar, and not. His name was unknown now. History didn't remember the forbidden zone. But wars still brewed. Shadows still grew. Humanity still wavered. He joined the new world quietly. A soldier no longer, but a guide. A whisper. A teacher. A warning. He didn't tell anyone who he really was. He just listened. He helped. And sometimes, when the stars shimmered a certain way, he would hear echoes. Not haunting, not painful, just reminders that he had once stepped into the end of time and came back with all of himself. Final entry, Journal K13. He walked into a paradox and returned as a whole. He became the silence between possibilities, the calm between storms. He was the echo we all waited for, the echo that finally chose peace. Final line. I am not the first. I am not the last. I am the echo that answered.